Imagine you use a product and after a while you find out that this product has given you cancer. What do you think you're going to do? Of course, you're going to sue this company for ruining or ending your life or the life of someone you love. Now, keep in mind we live in a country where a man received $50 million from Starbucks for a faulty coffee carrier.
An LA jury has hit Starbucks with a $50 million verdict after a customer suffered third-degree burns to his genitalia.
Security camera video from the drive-thru, a tray full of coffees landing in his lap. His trial attorney says a barista failed to fully push the lid onto one cup.
So it's not a surprise that a company like Monsanto has been paying billions of dollars to all the people who were hurt by their Roundup weed killer.
Did Monsanto fail to adequately warn of the danger or instruct on the safe use of Roundup Pro or Ranger Pro? Answer, yes. Was Monsanto's failure to warn a substantial factor in causing harm to Mr. Johnson? Answer, yes.
In 1982, they bought their dream home and wanted to keep the weeds out of the driveway, wanted to keep the weeds away from the pool, and started spraying Roundup. Bought a couple other pieces of properties. Nobody ever told them it was dangerous. They saw the ads on TV. They thought they could trust the company. They were wrong. Al got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2011. They kept spraying because they didn't know. They didn't know why. Alberta got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in the brain in 2015. They got it again in 2016.
A California jury ordered the maker of Roundup Monday to pay more than $2 billion to a couple who claim the popular weed killer caused their cancer.
Well, in fact, only a month ago, they were ordered to pay $2.1 billion to a Georgia man who says he got cancer after using the famous weed killer from the Monsanto brand.
Big win for a Georgia man in his fight against cancer after a jury ordered the parent company of Roundup weed killer to pay him more than $2 billion in damages.
Now, this might seem like good news, but it definitely is not. You see, after paying more than $16 billion to settle cases against its products, Bayer Pharmaceuticals has decided to make sure nobody can sue them ever again.
And with the vote for SB 144, which passed with a yes from every single Republican in the General Assembly, except for your Freedom Caucus members, they voted to pass this and give Monsanto a liability shield for people who are suing them because, I don't know, their products cause cancer.
You heard that right. This company is only one signature away from making sure that no one can sue them for damages in the great state of Georgia. But that's not even the main problem. They're running a full-scale campaign to pass such legislation in as many states as they can.
I just came out of this subcommittee hearing on HSB 737, which would give pesticide companies immunity for citizens trying to file lawsuits against them for damages. This bill was already shut down in the House Ag Committee, and now it's being brought back in Ways and Means. This bill just passed the subcommittee, and it will take away farmers' rights to pursue legal action after damages are caused to their families and themselves. The basic argument presented by Bayer and other chemical companies is that the lawsuits that are being brought up by them about the damages caused by their products is going to put them out of business.
And no one seems to be talking about it. I mean, didn't we just elect a president who's been telling us how dangerous these pesticides can be?
Questions about certain things, whether it's pesticides. Europe doesn't use pesticides, and yet they have a better mortality rate than we do. They don't use pesticides. In fact, they use it as an excuse not to take our farm product. We spend billions and billions of dollars on pesticides, and something bad's happening.
And then we have RFK Jr., who has spent his entire life criticizing these pesticide manufacturers.
Pesticide division, EPA, for over a decade. A very well-known man named Jess Rowland. He was really secretly working for Monsanto, and they were telling him in these emails, you have to kill this study, you have to falsify this science. We went into court with about 2,400, mainly home gardeners, who had gotten non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from using Roundup. And in the first case, we won $289 million from the jury. The second case, we won $89 million. In the first two cases, the judge would not allow us to show that letter, the email exchange to the jury. But in the third case, the judge allowed us to do it. And we asked the jury for $1 billion, and they came back with $2.2 billion.
And yet somehow we have Georgia, where both the upper and lower house have a Republican majority, and yet they passed this bill which gives pesticide makers even more immunity than the vaccine developers. This must be a damn joke because nobody with a brain will be laughing at this. And trust me, this thing isn't gonna stop with Georgia. If Brian Kemp signs this into law, it will spread to other states like Iowa and Tennessee, where so far the bill hasn't received overwhelming support.
Hey y'all, just left the Capitol and today was one of those rare days where there was actually a win for the people. Today the people showed up and were able to defeat a horrible bill being pushed by these corporate lobbyists to grant immunity from lawsuits to companies like Bayer and Monsanto when our farmers and community members get sick from their pesticides. This bill was trying to take away the right of Tennesseans to sue these corporations. And the people rose up, they showed up, mothers and farmers and scientists, lawyers, calling this bill out for the corruption that it was. These companies spent so much on billboards across the state, on an army of lobbyists, but the people's voice prevailed. They showed up and they called out the lawmakers supporting this, like the sponsor, Representative Rusty Grills, for not representing the interests of farmers, but representing the interests of these foreign multinational chemical corporations and not the people.
So if you guys really want to make a difference, share this video and let's raise some hell, because they're stealing our right to seek justice right now. Now, moving on, I want to share another story with you that is not getting enough attention. I'm sure you guys know that the White House is pretty serious right now about making people pay off their student loans.
In other news, the Trump administration has announced we will put an end to Joe Biden's illegal student loan bailout attempts. No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. That comes to an end. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans. The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion. But fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers. Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans?
Now look, you can have your own opinion on this issue, but let me show you the kind of crazy propaganda that's spreading in the liberal circles about this.
So today Trump started talking about how he's going to force us to start paying back our student loans by garnishing our wages. I didn't borrow a goddamn dime. I was 17 years old. My mother forced me to take out that loan, and if I didn't, she was going to throw me out and make me homeless. The boomers should have their goddamn retirement accounts and Social Security checks garnished for forcing college onto us, forcing us to take unsustainable loans. It's just screwed up.
You gotta be high on something to believe something like this. The people getting Social Security in this country are the biggest victims of our horrible financial policies. But I do understand why a lot of young people are pissed off right now, because at the end of the day, student loans are extremely shady.
I'm gonna keep posting about this all day because this is bull. I went and logged into my federal loan account, and this is what I found. I graduated in 2011 with $46,000 in student loan debt. My loan debt is now almost $90,000. In that time, I've been a social worker that has made income-based repayments on my loan for years, and that shit has almost doubled. You want to know why people are pissed off about their student loans? It's not because we can't get anyone else to pay them for us. It is because you have set it up where we can never pay them off ourselves.
So the only way to address this issue is to educate people on the issue, and especially our kids, before they end up selling their youth to pay for an education that guarantees no job. Now, another story I'd like to discuss revolves around a politician who spent years defending billionaires like Bill Gates. I'm of course talking about Senator Dick Durbin, who's saying he will not be running again next year.
But in my heart, I know it's time to pass the torch. So I'm announcing today that I will not be seeking re-election at the end of my term. The people of Illinois have honored me with this responsibility longer than anyone elected to the Senate in our state's history. I'm truly grateful.
And while I'm glad to hear that a guy like him will not be part of the Senate anymore, we need to hold him accountable if he really stopped the Epstein flight logs from coming out.
Well, if you were not watching C-SPAN and if you didn't see that Judiciary Committee hearing today, this was quite a mess. but we were trying to get my subpoenas of Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs and the subpoena of Sotomayor and her book deal. Things that weren't reported, but we have found out about this through the news. And of course, the chairman blocked it all, cut it off.
I mean, in this country, we have a history of old evil men escaping justice, but this has to stop. If it wasn't for people like Dick Durbin, we might have seen some developments in the Epstein case. So as much as I appreciate Kash Patel and Pam Bondi going after cartels and child traffickers, I think they also need to go after these old politicians before they're too old to be prosecuted. I mean, it's shocking that we haven't been able to pin down Nancy Pelosi for insider trading even after all these years.
Tim Cook reportedly called Pelosi to deliver a warning about Congress's antitrust bills.
Without objection.
So maybe it's the lobbyists, maybe it's the power of these very powerful CEOs making personal calls, but it could even be something more sinister. Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record a Fortune.com piece entitled Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband cashed in on big tech just as Congress was set to pounce.
Without objection.
And in that article, there's discussion of the spouse of the Speaker of the House making a $6 million call on stocks.
And now she's back, and there are rumors that she's gonna run again, which is crazy because she looks even worse than Biden. But then again, when your young politicians are assaulting journalists and making cringe dance moves, you have to put up with people like Nancy Pelosi. I really want you guys to speak up on this pesticide bill because we certainly don't want to give them any more power. I also want to know what you guys think about the student loan issue. So share your thoughts with everyone in the comments down below. Have yourself a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.